if I climb this tree.
No, it's fine.
Thank you.
So I went out here to get my yoga mat. Macy peed on it a few weeks ago, so I cleaned it and left it out here on the fence to dry. This is a live example of my level of procrastination. Often the smallest tasks are unnecessarily drug out and made complicated. There it is, in my neighbor's mini pool, just wet and dirty. Like I said, it's been a few weeks, and all I had to do was come out and get it. One of the many times that I thought of it. I'll probably end up just buying another one now. However, one good thing did come from this, and that's that if I hadn't gone outside to get the mat, I wouldn't have realized how nice and sunny it was. So I decided to microdose some mushrooms and go to the park to meditate instead and talk to you guys about this stuff I've realized. Positive, all good things.
The other day I rode past and I was taking a video of this wall, and it was like really quick, so you could barely see anything. So today I decided to come back and actually get like good footage of it. And you're here, so that makes me super happy. Good, how you doing?
She's a walking contradiction, a sleepy adventurer, a hopeful cynic, a quiet charmer, a jaded lover, a dark shining light, a calm storm, a beautiful mess. She's everything broken and flawless. So we all experience contradicting tendencies, beliefs, and behaviors at some point For me right now, and plenty of others, apparently, it presents itself in the form of procrastination, lack of discipline, and another familiar term might be self sabotage. In general, just doing things that do not coincide with what you desire. Unintentionally and Unfortunately, it is very easy to do nowadays, self sabotage, considering the power of the distractions consuming us, social media being the big one. Also, considering the fast paced lifestyles we've created and adapted to. Instant gratification, result, and entertainment has become an expectation at this point, a craving, even. And in a place where those things are missing, so then is our attention.
Thank you.
Ultimately, we find ourselves repeating a cycle constantly, where we end up back at square one, trying to motivate, remind, and realign ourselves with our goals. All that said, the good thing that I've experienced recently is that if you're genuinely passionate about the mission you're on, whatever it is for you, you'll finally get to a place where you're simply tired of starting over. Not to say that things will magically become easier, but at this point, you'll truly be able to commit yourself to all the practices and sacrifices that you've always acknowledged as vital aspect in getting you to that ideal place. And once there, the reward and motivation start to feel like one and the same, meaning that in becoming acquainted with the inevitable growth, feeling of guidance, overall boost in confidence, and even more passion as a result or reward, in turn, will become motivation for you to continue on that path. Then things may start to become a little bit easier, thus beginning a new, more positive and fulfilling cycle. The timeline of how this process plays out for each individual, of course, will be a reflection of that person's reality, their personality, ways of thinking and understanding, and so on. Personally, it's taken me over a year to develop a true understanding of the famous quote: the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Once I finally became tired of that negative cycle, I then had to figure out my next step, because there's not only realizing and understanding that there's a problem, but knowing how to move forward once you do. And here I felt that my next best move would be to not move at all. And believe me, after becoming not only frustrated from not understanding why things weren't working out, but also a bit discouraged and fearful to keep trying and feeling like a failure, giving up for a while was fine by me. For a few years now, and even more so in these times, I've been listening to and watching seminars conducted by a woman who goes by Abraham Hicks. And in one of the more recent ones I've listened to, the message in summation was to try not to jump into action too soon, to make it easy and do things once the energy is actually moving. She often talks about the path of least resistance, and basically that when you're trying to do things prematurely and end up inevitably facing obstacles, of course, by default, you try harder and harder, which in a lot of cases creates a pattern of frustration and negativity, putting you more in vibrational alignment with those negative emotions and pushes you further and further away from the goal and the desired outcome. Makes sense to me, and it's advice and explanation that I feel that anyone who does believe in energy could see the sense in. We are all different in so many ways, but I believe that in the most important and profound ways, we are all the same. I have no doubt that even the people who seem to create effortlessly or do whatever have at some point in time or in one area of life or another come to a place where they had to or were maybe even forced to pause and be more mindful. A term that we're all familiar with this day and age, and one that I'm hoping won't become so cliche of a term to the point of being disregarded. Of all the things I decided to commit myself to this year, maintaining my channel, working on and starting my business, somehow in dealing with personal issues and the frustration and obstacles of those first two goals, the third and most important one, self-discovery, improvement, meditation and mindfulness, and my overall spiritual growth just somehow always ended up on the back burner. It had become the area in my life that, as mentioned, I was constantly having to realign myself with, the area that I was cycling in, and as a result, the other two goals could not be accomplished. Unfortunately, but not regrettably, because now that I'm aware, instead of annoyed or having a feeling of regret for having seemingly wasted so much time, I now am able to see the true value in my time here. At the start of September is when I finally did realize that I was cycling and the toll that it was taking, that I was truly embodying that definition of insanity. This is when I decided to give it all up and solely start focusing on myself and well-being. All on a more regular basis, I started eating better and drinking more water, working out, meditating, and doing yoga or stretching, and journaling to keep track of my progress and my emotions overall. I also started consuming more motivational and educational content on all of the things that I'm interested in: art, herbalism, spirituality, and so on. Avoiding too much TV and social media. I even began traveling in silence about 95% of the time when I felt there was something that I needed to contemplate or meditate on. And lastly, and probably one of the most important in my opinion, for many different reasons, I've been spending a lot more time in nature and alone, and really coming to understand the true value in doing so. Possibly just as famous in the art community, but new to me, and one that I relate to very well, having spent most of my year indoors, is another great quote that goes, "Without great solitude, no serious work is possible." Overall, I just began remaining mindful and intentional in all of my actions, constantly evaluating and reminding myself of the fact that if I want to get to where I imagine and hope, I would not be allowed to half-ass it in any way. And if I want to create in the form of drawing, writing, photography, video making, animation, painting, whatever it may be, I would not be able to get there without being spiritually and mentally sound. I still have a long way to go, but I've noticed lately that I've gained a lot more clarity. I've been feeling more focused and committed, and as a result, creating much more naturally. We can hear a million times, which I'm sure that we all have, that mindfulness and all that it encompasses is important. But experience is and always has been the best teacher. Now I can be grateful that I wasn't able to immediately recognize its importance so that I'd have this journey as resonance with and evidence of the validity of that claim. Being self-aware, knowing how to connect with the guidance that is always available to you, and making it the foundation of all of your plans will show you the way to realize them all at full potential. During the summer, I began seeing advertisement for a movie that I thought would be powerful and planned to see. It finally came out on September 24th, 24 being a number that I've been seeing a lot lately. And though I didn't end up going to see it, around that time I came across and watched a father-daughter duo sing a song on Instagram that made me very emotional. I spent 4 days after going to the park trying to find the familiar song that the little girl was vaguely singing, and finally decided to try an option that I had passed up multiple times. I realized it was a song from that movie that I still haven't seen, but while in the park recognized from the Instagram video. After clicking, I had a feeling that it would be it, so I decided to capture the moment and had an even more emotional reaction to realizing all of the connections and just hearing the lyrics during this phase in my life. Even